Hello. Um, this is going to be the section about the concept of bangers and mash with my lovely assistant Socks because she's being very needy today. So basically the bangers concept started out for a project of last year, for uni last year. Started out at the beginning of the year, beginning of 2018, and it ended up becoming 3 shows through that, which all did really well. And I did that with someone else, but I decided that I was going to go it alone for this year because that person was no longer interested in being involved, which is fine. But the idea for it initially was that we would have 3 bands on the bill. They would all be very small bands. The plan was for Dan, who's the in-house promoter, who basically helped me orchestrate this whole thing. He wanted to find Edinburgh bands who would be good to support bigger bands that were coming through, but he just couldn't be bothered looking for them anymore. So that's where Bangers was born, was to take a chance on putting on these bands, see how they tried to sell tickets, see how audiences enjoyed them, and if they were really good and they put in a lot of effort, then we would keep them on the Mash House database, and which is going to scroll now, and we would use them again. Initially the plan was to pay every band £30, even the headliner, and then that would be £30 versus £3 of every ticket, or £2 depending on how expensive the tickets were, of every ticket that they sold, just to try and make bands go out there and really put effort into selling their tickets. But we changed this up this time. We changed this up when starting the shows again for this project, because Dan wanted me to learn how most promoters will actually put on a show, and how to learn how to deal with versus deals. He wanted me to learn how to appropriately cost up a band, so how to decide the fee, how to gauge the ticket price and do a costing sheet, the kind of bands that we would look for. We actually decided that we were going to go for bands that maybe other promoters wouldn't choose to do the shows for. So that might be something like a band that hadn't played a headline show that big before in Edinburgh, because it's quite risky in Edinburgh. The crowds aren't as good, especially if they're a band from Glasgow, which we did end up using a lot, even though initially we wanted to be finding more bands from Edinburgh, but that's just how it goes, I guess. I didn't want to believe it, but there are more bands in Glasgow. So yeah, bands that maybe were too small technically for the headline slot, or bands who maybe played a lot or were big enough for the headline slot but mixed them with a lineup that wouldn't usually get put on by other promoters. I just wanted to basically use Bangers and Mash to promote like grassroots entertainment, so try and get people out to come and see new music. That was the integral idea of it all. And just to also try and get bands who were maybe respected in the music scene and pair them with bands who needed that support slot of a band that were respected in the music scene. So yeah, it was just one whole big experiment really. Genre-wise, there wasn't actually anything specific. Generally kept as bands like indie rockier bands, although our final show was a folk band with a sort of pop acoustic act, electro acoustic pop act. So there was definitely that like variety. Had I chosen to continue Bangers and Mash, I would have wanted to develop into more electronic-y, poppy kind of stuff. But there we go. So yeah.